Okay, today we're going to start working on the Anita Goodesign Honeycomb quilt. I've done the tutorials on how to make the blocks, how to piece them in the hoop and all that. So now we got to put them together, and this is a little different because they're not squares. So that we'll be putting two together, and then these two go together, then this one is going to go to both of these and so forth. But before you get started sewing, you want to make sure you lay everything out so you can see how you want to have it. And it's always a good idea to start after you've got about 10 blocks or so done, you start laying them out and see what you might need that you might have gravitated toward just doing like more of the all over embroidery blocks, or too many of the piece blocks. In this case, I only have one of this type, and this is an embroidery, but it makes it look like it's the fabric that you're working on as opposed to a specific design. And I know I need to do a few more of those. So I'm just going to take a few of these to get started. I think we'll work on a few here, and we'll start putting them together. And you'll see it won't be hard at all. So for the sake of this video, let me get this out of the way. I'm going to show how to put this little group together. And once you know how to do that, you should be able to know how to do the whole rest of the quilt. So let's get started. I'm going to start by sewing this one to this one. So in order for me to make sure I get this right, I'm going to put a pin here. And I'm going to put a pin here so that I know that's where these two are going to go against each other. So when I go over to the sewing machine, or I start to turn this over, I don't want to be on the wrong side. So what we're going to be working on is we're going to be joining from here to here. Look, now I got my pin stuck together. There we go. From here, let me see, from here to here, and from here to here. So I got my pins in. I know I can flip these over now, and I know I've got the right two pieces together. I'm going to stick my pin in. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to stick my pin in this corner. Let me do it this way. It might be easier for you to see. Maybe not. I'm going to go in this corner. And you see I'm in that corner right there. And I need to go match it to this corner. Then I'm going to take another pin and I'm going to stick it in this corner, and you see, which is right, helps if I don't pull the pin back out again, is right there, and I need to go to this corner. So I know that my corners are, almost knocked the camera over. I know now that my corners are matching each other. What I have to pay attention to is my pins coming out. So if I turn this sideways, so I can't have my pin going down or going up. I need to have it straight. But I also don't want to have it going left or right. So I want to get that pretty close to straight, and I want to put one in the middle. So I'm going to put it, see, I'm right under that. Let me get there. Hold on. I'm right under that thread. You can see it better on this side. See how it is? I want to be just under that thread, and I'm going to come across and go under that thread. So I have these three pins. Then I got to make sure that everybody's straight. Now the center one, because I'm going to take the center one out again, only because before I pin the center, I want to make sure my two sides are going straight. I'm going to give it a little pinch here, and I'm going to come through, and I'm just going to peek in there, and I want to make sure when I stick that pin through the center that I didn't move my other pins. So if you have pins, I can see this pin is not straight. Okay. So I want to make sure my pins are straight this way, and I want to make sure that they're straight this way. And I mean straight as in going across this way. See, that would be wrong. This would be right. So everybody's all, can you see them all? They're all lined up. And they're all lined up this way. While they're straight in there, I'm going to put a pin in. Now, if this pin is way too, the thickness is too much, I'm going to try it with the clip. And I want to make sure that I keep my pins that whole time nice and straight. I'm not going to take these pins. If I took this pin and tried to use it, you see I'm pulling one fabric down. So I want to make sure that my clips, when they go on, that I have my pins straight. Then I can take my pins out, and I'm going to sew from this corner of the stitching to this corner of the stitching. Okay, so I'm going to be stitching along here, and I'm going to be, if you look, you see how there's two lines there? Well, if you stuck your pin through, let me see if I can do it over here, in between the two lines, you see how I'm just below that stitching? So I don't have to be below, let me see if I can get it into view here for you. I don't have to be below this line, I need to be below this line. So I'm going to go right in between. And I'm just going to check on the other side to make sure that I'm below this stitching so it doesn't show. The other thing is your clips have a flat side. That's the side you want down against the machine because this side is curved. So I'm going to line this up, and let me see if I can come in from a better angle. Okay, I'm going to be sewing from this corner. Remember, I'm between these two. I'm going to be sewing along with a regular straight stitch to this other corner. And I'm going to make sure I lock my stitches at the beginning and at the end. So the first thing I want to do is, I'm not going to put my foot down. The first thing I want to do, using my hand wheel, I'm going to bring my needle down where I want it to be. In my case, my machine, the foot comes down automatically. Okay, I'm going to lock my stitch, so I'm going to just stitch in place. Okay, I'm going to just stitch along slowly. I have to make sure I take the clip off, so I'm going to, in this case, just move it down. I didn't slide it that it was touching the fabric. I opened it up enough that I could move it down without interfering with the movement of, or move my fabric. And I'm just going to sew. When I get to the other corner, I'm going to do a locking stitch again, which is stitch in place. And then I'm just going to cut my thread. Now let's see how we did. Back the camera up a little bit. So I open it up, and I can't see any of that line. If I could, I would just go back and do it again. And you see how my lines here are lining up, and my lines over here are lining up. What I also want to do is make sure that I press this open. Now, I made a mistake. So see, I did this one right, that I trimmed out my binding as I was, my batting as I was, when I started, and apparently I forgot to on this side. So I'll come back in and just carefully hold that up and trim that away, and then I will press this open. And if you see how I can see my stitches? So I know they're not going to show because here they are where they belong on this side. If you want to get a little closer than that, that's up to you. But sometimes just come in a little bit more and it just saves you having to go back over it. But whatever you do, you want to do it the same the whole way. Well, let's go get another, let me trim this and press it, and then we'll get another block. Okay, now we're going to sew these two together, and I've marked them so I know, can't see my pin there. I've marked them with a pin on each one so I know when I flip it over, I know they're going together. So I got my two pins. I'm going to line up like I did before with the corner and the corner. And now I just have to, let me grab this pin out. I just have to get this out of my way. So this is the piece that we just sewed on. See, it's really not connected there. I'm going to go in my corner. And, let me flip that out of the way. Find my other corner. Get my pins in like they need to be. I'm still holding this one out of my way because I'm going to stop sewing right here. And this piece, let me see if I can show you. We're going to stop sewing about right where my thumb is. And see, this piece is really over out of the way. I just got to keep it out of the way. So I'm just going to get my pin straight and I'm going to clip. I've got my clips on. And now I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to make sure that this is the piece we're not working with. I've got it folded in half and out of the way. Actually, I took the, let me see if I can, he's out over here out of my way because I'm going to be going right to this end here. So I'm going to bring my needle down in my corner the same as I did before. I'm going to lock it in place. Oh. Oh. Guess I better have my sewing machine on. There we go. I was in screen saving mode. So I'm going to lock it in place. And I'm going to go ahead and start sewing. And I'm going to come right to that corner again. Lock that in place. We'll see how it came out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that seam. And just for the moment, I'm going to use my, my wooden iron so you can see right away. Now this part here hasn't been sewn yet, right here. We're still going to sew these two. But let's make sure it looks good on both sides. So I'm just flattening it out. And there will be a little bit of maybe to trim off, but so far I'm feeling this piece here is over this one, and it's not feeling bulky at all, so I'm not going to concern myself with it at this moment. Let's see how it looks on the other side. So again, we have no stitches showing from the embroidery, and here's our first part there. So now we're going to go ahead and do this piece. I don't have to pin it. Let me move the camera back for a minute. Okay, I wanted to give you a better view. So we just finished this one here. This was our first one. Here's our second one. So now we've got to do these. I don't need to pin it because there's not, I know this is what I have to sew. So I'm going to flip it over. And again, I'm going to bring this side over to here. So here's my part, and here's where, see how we're going to just kind of fold this to just keep it from flopping too much around. But I'm going to go ahead again, put my pin in, then I'm going to go into this side, and you can see this guy's going to be this guy's going to be out of our way. Again, I'm going to come into the corner. I'm going to come in the corner, and I'm going to go through to the other corner. And see how this is the one that's already done. I'm just kind of folding that out of my way, because when I stitch from here over to here, this part is over here. It's not coming along in this area at all. So I'm just going to pin this, and I'll go to my sewing machine. Okay, I've got my clips in. Again, I'm going to sew from this point right here over to this point right here. That extra block is over here. I'm folding it out of my way. I'm going to put my needle down in. Oh, my thread came out of my little loop there. Okay. Let's see if you can get in a little closer. I'm going to lock it in place. Again, I'm stitching between these two lines. You can see here's my block that I don't want to sew, but my end is right there. Gonna lock it. So it stopped right at the edge of this bulk. So here's my new seam. I'm going to open that up. And for now, I'm just going to use my wooden iron. And let's see how the other side looks. And now I would go and give that a good press. Everybody's together. Seam is good. We're good. And now I would just give this a good press. And go ahead. I was upside down. This is the way we're going. And the next one would be to do this one the same way. Now, it's going to get bulky at some point, so you may want to do it in smaller groups, then add them to bigger groups. You may want to get have an extension table or something that's up on this level to keep the bulk of it up so it's not dragging down. But I would tend to do this. I probably just keep going with what I have. because it's going to be a while before it bulks up. I think I would just keep going this way. So there you go. So there's how you put it together. And the next one, you can go from this side first, then to this side to that side. It doesn't matter. This piece would go in here like this. Again, we'd flip and do this one, and we'd flip and do that one, and continue on. And I would stop when I got a few of them done and really go right over to the iron and really just press these down. Don't need to iron them, just press them so they're pressed open. If you feel some bulk in here, I've got another. See, I did that same thing again with that. I got that batting in there, so I'm going to trim that batting out. It must be that same block that I did earlier. The batting is still in, but you see how nice this sits, nice and flat. There's no batting in either side. And I should have trimmed it when I was first starting out, but apparently I forgot on this whole block here and this one. So I'm just going to come back in, open this up, and then just carefully trim that away. I can show you how to do that. I don't need to get right down too close to the fabric, and I'm pushing the fabric down on both sides so that just my batting is sticking up. And I did it on the other side, because if you're going to make a mistake, make it a few times. I'm going to make sure that I push my fabric out of the way and my stabilizer. And see, it's just little pieces, but it's enough to give you that bulk that you don't need. And then I would take this over, and that sits nice and flat. And see how these two coming together right here? They're not bulky at all. So I just got to trim out one more batting, and while I'm at it, I'll probably just go around this whole piece and this whole piece and get the batting out before I go any further. But there you go. So have a good time. Take your time. You know, it's only about 4 inches of seam, so it's not a lot that you have to go in distance. So if you have the bulk up on your table, again, you want to, if you don't have an extension table, put a book or something here, box, whatever, and that'll just help you hold it up. Put something in the back if you got something, but you know, having that extension table is really a nice way to go. And enjoy it. Oh, here we go. There you go. Have a good time.